Well, I'm doing this video again on February, but this time I have a pretty valid excuse. As you can tell, I'm not behind my regular bookshelf because I'm actually packing right now, which is rather unfortunate. This will be my last video in this space, but I think this is kind of a nice send-off since I'm talking about the best games that I played in 2016, and last year was a really good year for video games, so much so that I missed so many of the heavy hitters like Watch Dogs 2, Dishonored 2, Deus Ex Mankind Divided, Hyper Light Drifter, and sadly Fire Emblem Fates. And I love the Fire Emblem series, I just didn't really have time to dabble into it, which is really unfortunate, but I did play 10 games, and that's pretty much the reason why I'm making this video, so better late than never, as they say. Let's talk about my top 10 games from 2016. Woo! Number 10. When a game is in development for 10 years, concerns about its quality can lead for some very reasonable doubt, as you can tell from some previous endeavors. But that being said, Final Fantasy 15 is probably my favorite game of the series since number 10. And that was 15 years ago.
Even though the game claims it's for newcomers and longtime fans alike, 15 took a lot of chances with its formula, moving over from the turn-based RPGs of yore to something like a fusion between Kingdom Hearts and Monster Hunter. Sometimes the combat can be very frenetic, but I at least enjoy my time using Noctis and his crew. And speaking of the crew, they're definitely a highlight for me. And the game manages to sell their camaraderie by having them converse throughout the adventure and bond over from car rides to camping. The game, especially with its scale into consideration, looks absolutely gorgeous, and so is the orchestral soundtrack. And while I do have some gripes like the nonsensical plot or the unbalanced difficulty, I still had fun, otherwise this wouldn't be on the list.
But despite those unfortunate missteps, Final Fantasy 15 still has a lot of great elements in it. I mean, heck, I can think of two right now. Cindy!
Number 9. Superhot is quite the power fantasy. While at first glance it might seem like your ordinary first-person shooter, it is actually one of the cleverest and stylized puzzle games in years. The concept in which time only moves when you do make you feel like you can take out a room full of goons with utmost finesse. Great moments like walking a guy in the face, grabbing his gun, shooting his colleague, and when you run out of bullets, just toss the gun at another unfortunate victim. What's even more impressive is once you clear the level, the game shows you the action in real time, clearing out the room swiftly like a kung fu action hero. While the time playing the game is brisk, it is absolutely awesome, and even you will start saying,
Super hot. Super hot.
Number 8.
When a game is being developed for over a decade, concerns about its quality can lead for some reasonable doubt. As you can see from some past wait a second, didn't I make this? Anyways, the punchline is The Last Guardian, and pretty much a similar story to Final Fantasy 15. This one is also a very good game, which is why it's on the list. Duh.
Though I'm not gonna be the first person to admit that it was pretty tough for The Last Guardian to live up to the hype, resulting in its reception from both critics and fans alike as sort of mixed. And so was I, what with the camera, controls, and do I even have to mention the AI issue with Trico? Okay, that's it, boy. Just go forward. Just go. No, don't go back. That's where we came from, Trico. No. But then I thought to myself, Trico acts like an actual pet. While at first there's an obvious fracture between you and the winged beast, as the game goes on, he becomes more obedient. The fact there is no indicator or HUD did feel kinda strange at first, but on the other hand, getting Trico to do what you want him to do felt very satisfying. The Last Guardian gives a lot to those who are willing to give it a chance, and with moments like these, how can you say no? Number 7.
I really hope people aren't gonna hate me for this one, but here it goes.
I think it's because that Uncharted 4 was my most anticipated game of 2016 that I was left a little bit disappointed. Maybe it's the fact that the combat took a step back, the pacing felt a little bit slow, or maybe one inclusion to the narrative that I didn't really like so much. But nevertheless, I cannot deny that there is still so much polish behind Uncharted 4. I mean, I have to say this first and foremost, this game is absolutely beautiful! It might be one of the best looking games of all time! And despite my fair share of annoyances with the story, I did still enjoy it, since it felt a lot more human, especially with Elena around. Which is kinda different for an over-the-top franchise like Uncharted. And of course I did like the grappling hook as well, which was actually my favorite thing to do in the multiplayer, which, yeah, the multiplayer is actually really good. So I do consider Uncharted 2 Among Thieves to be the pinnacle of the series, but Uncharted 4 is a very nice send-off to Nathan Drake's adventures. If only for this reason.
What is a fox smashing crates?
Bandicoot, and that's just what he does.
It's a fox, and it's not very realistic.
Number 6. Considering that The Witness is from the mind of Jonathan Blow who brought us Braid, it's no surprise that it's a masterclass in puzzle games. The game puts you on an island without any guidance or instructions of what to do, which is probably part of the appeal. When you run through the first few puzzles, having to move a line from one point on a flat maze to another feels like something you do in coloring books. But as you go along the adventures, the puzzles become more intricate and thus solving them feel a lot more rewarding. There are always new rules to spice things up, like colored blocks, or even solving something through the environment itself.
I actually had to bust out my phone in order to solve a puzzle when I took a picture of this structure over here just so I can continue in the game. And when a game actually makes me want to use something outside of the game in order to solve a puzzle, that's unbelievably smart.
If you're one of those people who does not like to be led by the hand, I guarantee that The Witness is gonna be a great time sink. Number 5. I had no expectations for Titanfall 2 whatsoever, considering how the original was a failed Xbox One killer app that felt rather anemic. But what I love about its sequel is that Respawn took what didn't work and made everything better. For one, I actually loved the campaign. I had a lot of fun playing the infantry units, running and gunning, but also how natural the jumping mechanic is, going from wall to wall. In fact, the game adds so many exhilarating moments using this mechanic, I will go far and say that Titanfall 2 has the best jumping controls in a first-person shooter game ever. Oh yeah, and you also get to pilot a giant robot too. This time when you upgrade your companion BT with many mods like flamethrower, rockets, and of course, a freaking sword! Heck, BT is perhaps the reason why I enjoy the game's narrative so much, as his interaction with the main character with its matter-of-fact, no-nonsense attitude makes it pretty funny.
Pilot, exercise caution.
You can say that again.
Pilot, exercise caution.
My only regret is the fact that this game came between Call of Duty and EA's own Battlefield 1, which made the sales were unfortunately rather low. Which is sort of my public service announcement to let everyone know that Titanfall 2 is an amazing game, and by far my biggest surprise of 2016.
Trust me.
Number 4.
Our galaxy is in a state of crisis.
Captain Quark?
The Galactic Rangers are looking for a new recruit.
I was reprehensive about Ratchet Clank. I expected the movie to be a fun action-adventure rob that will excite me as well as make me laugh. But it turned out to be a meandering adult film that is still shockingly the best movie tie-in in 2016. That's pretty sad.
Which explains why I didn't play the game based on the movie, based on the game, since I thought the plot lacked any cohesiveness, so to say, and felt very scattered. But you know what, guys? This is really the only negative. This game is actually really awesome!
The controls have never been tighter before, especially how simple it is to use gadgets compared to the original game. The weapons are better than ever, especially making a traditional shotgun turn enemies into pixelated mess, and of course, the Groovitron. And at the end of the day, it did improve vastly on the original Ratchet Clank that, while good, was still rough around the edges. In a year where Sony had some great exclusives, I'm going to go and say this was by far my favorite.
Thanks for your help.
No problem. See you in the next reboot.
Number 3.
Sometimes when I want to feel like a badass, there is one game that sets me off on that mood, and that is none other than Doom. Get it? Because Doom backwards is mood. Okay, fine. I know you guys are waiting for it, so let's do it again.
In the same fashion that Wolfenstein New Order did 2 years ago, Doom 2016 combines old-school game design with modern game mechanics in a masterful manner. Instead of just hiding behind a chest-high wall, Doom encourages players to just head on straight and demolish demons with utmost gusto. As someone who never really grew up with the original Doom games, I still appreciate that old-school approach to level design and how everything feels contained, yet polished to a T. From the many secrets, weapons, and enemies, and even a storyline that had some genuine good moments. Doom's campaign was so good that even the issues I had with the multiplayer and snap map didn't even affect its good graces. Even if you're not a fan of the genre, I think Doom might change your mind. Number 2. I admit that 2016 was not a very good year for Nintendo, except for one franchise in particular, Pokemon. When it comes to Pokemon Sun and Moon, there are just so many things I would love to talk about, but I want to keep my thoughts concise. I think what makes Gen 7 unique is how distinct it is. Alola as a region is only separated by islands, each with their own unique habitats and customs. The shift from gyms to trials isn't something I was a huge fan of, but at the very least it did keep me guessing throughout the adventure. And speaking of it, the story did get a facelift, with better realized characters like Lily and Gladion, and the ever-lovable Team Skull, which might be my favorite villain team since, Team Rocket actually. And of course, training and battling with a new assortment of creatures is as fun as it usually has been. Also, the fact that this is the first Pokemon games with no HMs whatsoever makes it pretty good in my book. But even with all those compliments, the reason why this game is this high on the list is definitely more personal.
If I'm 100% honest, due to the negative feedback that I got on my videos from 3 years ago when I talked about Pokemon, there was this rift that was created that I didn't want to be involved with those games anymore, and I started to become jaded over the franchise, even through Pokemon Omega Ruby. But not only did this game rekindle my enthusiasm about Pokemon again, but I got to be on Pokemon streams and even make my own and try to catch shiny Pokemon, and I have met a lot of amazing friends.
When I find shiny Pokemon, I'm not really much of a screamer. I'm just like, I get very excited, but I don't go, oh my god, shiny Pokemon, God! Because I'm not that kind of person, so, you know, it'll be funny if the shiny shows up right when I say that. Oh my god! The shiny showed up right when I said that! Oh my god! I actually said that, and the shiny showed up!
And that's the reason why I admire this game oh so very much. But you know something, guys? This is not even the number 1. This is...
Number 1! I can just hear the complaints of people calling me predictable, but I just can't help it. Overwatch is simply fantastic. The game just oozes with personality with its 20+ characters, and that's without even watching the animated shorts, although they do come highly recommended. Every single character is vastly different from one another, and even the maps are meticulously designed to have a lot of nuance in every single space. And boy is it addicting. Here's the truth, guys, I'm not very good at first-person shooters. Not to mention, I'm not very good when it comes to competitive play, due to a general lack of aiming prowess. But in Overwatch, the reason why I don't mind that is the fact that I do feel at least I contributed something in the end, since each character has their own role. If you're a great sharpshooter, there is Hanzo and Soldier 76. If you want to help your team and heal them up, there is Lucio and Mercy. The point is that there is a character for any kind of playstyle, and even people like me who are not good with the genre can find someone that they like to play as. I usually like to main at least one character in each area, so I can accommodate myself in the best team composition possible. And when a team is in sync and everything is working like clockwork, victories feel unbelievably well earned. Overwatch is charming, addicting, expertly crafted, and the most importantly, it's just fun. And I see no problem in calling it my favorite game of 2016. Also gotta love it for having my waifu Tracer. Now, well, a guy can dream. Thank you for bearing with me, guys, and I'm so sorry that this particular video took me as long as it did, but between all the personal stuff like graduating and moving to a temporary place, at the very least I got something out during this time. The good news, next video is my 10K subscriber special, so look forward to that, and until the next time, take care.